Most people think about saving money in terms of security, but the first $20,000 does something that nobody warns you about. It does not just protect you, it changes you. Today we're walking through exactly what shifts when you cross that number and why this milestone is different from every other savings target you have heard about. The $20,000 mark is not arbitrary, and it is not just a nice round number to hit. It is the point where the psychology of money, the math of compounding, and the leverage of having options all start working together for the first time. Before you have $20,000 saved, you are playing financial defense. Every unexpected expense is a potential crisis. A car repair, a medical bill, a job disruption, any of these can undo months of progress and push you into high interest debt in a single week. Your entire financial life is organized around not falling behind rather than getting ahead. This is what financial planners call survival mode, and it is exhausting in a way that is hard to describe to someone who has never lived inside it. You make decisions differently when there is no cushion. You take the job you do not want because you cannot afford to wait for a better one. You stay in situations longer than you should because the risk of leaving feels too high. The gap between $2,000 saved and $20,000 saved is not just a number, it is the difference between a financial life that is reactive and one that is intentional. The $20,000 milestone is the point where survival mode ends and something different begins. It is not a huge number by most wealth building standards, but it is enough to absorb the realistic worst case scenarios that most people face. And that changes the entire decision making environment you operate in. Let us be specific about what $20,000 actually covers, because the psychological shift only makes sense when you understand the concrete protection it provides. For the average American household spending approximately $4,000 to $5,000 per month on essential expenses, $20,000 represents 4 to 5 months of full runway. That is enough to survive a job loss without panic, cover a major medical expense without going into debt, handle a car failure without derailing your budget for the next 6 months. The financial research on emergency funds consistently shows that households with 3 to 6 months of expenses saved make dramatically better financial decisions than those living paycheck to paycheck. They take fewer high-interest loans. They negotiate better job offers because they can afford to walk away from bad ones. They do not sell investments at the worst possible time because they actually have something else to draw from. Below $20,000, most people are one bad month away from a decision they will regret. At $20,000, most people are insulated from the realistic emergencies that derail financial progress. That insulation is not just financial, it is cognitive. And the cognitive shift is actually the bigger story. One of the most underappreciated effects of hitting this milestone is what some people call refusal power. Refusal power is simple. When you have a meaningful cash buffer, you can say no. You can say no to the toxic manager, no to the job offer that pays what you need but asks for more than you want to give. Before $20,000, most people cannot say no because they cannot afford the gap. The fear of running out of money forces them to accept terms they would reject if they had options. This is the invisible leverage that financial cushion provides. Not just protection against emergencies, but negotiating power in every major life decision. Think about the last time you stayed in a situation, a job, a living arrangement, a relationship, longer than you should have because you could not afford the uncertainty of leaving. That is what zero savings costs you that never shows up in a personal finance calculator. The $20,000 milestone does not guarantee you make better decisions, but it removes the financial panic that forces bad ones. Here is the way I think about what changes at $20,000. Before you have it, you're a monkey at the bottom of the tree. Every piece of fruit requires maximum effort to reach, and one missed branch means you fall. After you have it, you are a monkey with a stash. You still climb, but now you climb on your terms because you are not hungry while you do it. Now let us talk about the math, because this is where the $20,000 milestone becomes genuinely exciting rather than just psychologically reassuring. At small savings balances, say $1,000 or $2,000, the returns from investing feel almost invisible. A 7% annual return on $2,000 is $140. That is not nothing, but it is also not the kind of number that makes compound interest feel real or motivating. At $20,000, the math starts to behave differently in a way you can actually feel. A 7% annual return on $20,000 is $1,400. A 10% return, closer to the historical nominal average of the S&P 500, produces $2,000 in passive growth in a single year. Consider also that at $20,000 invested, small improvements in your approach, like moving from a 0% savings account to a 7% index fund, produce hundreds of dollars of additional annual return rather than tens. For most people, $2,000 in passive growth is a meaningful number. It represents 1 or 2 months of savings contributions generated automatically without any additional work on your part. This is the first time most people viscerally understand what compound interest actually means, not as a concept, but as a real number showing up in their account. And the forward-looking picture from here is even more compelling. If you invest $20,000 at age 30 and never add another dollar, that single lump sum grows to approximately $149,000 by age 65 at a 7% annual return. The $20,000 milestone is not just a safety net, it is the first real unit of a wealth-building engine that runs whether you are paying attention or not. And that experience changes behavior. When you can see the math working at a scale that feels significant, you stop wanting to interrupt it. The discipline required to keep saving stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like protecting something that is already generating momentum on your behalf. Here is the part that surprises most people who cross this threshold for the first time. The second $20,000 comes faster than the first. Not just because you have more capital working for you, though that is part of it, but because the person who saved the first $20,000 is a different person than the one who started. You have already built the habits. You've already proven to yourself that you can delay gratification, resist lifestyle inflation, and prioritize future security over present consumption. That identity shift from someone who is trying to save money to someone who saves money is one of the most durable changes that happens at this milestone. The research on financial behavior consistently shows that self-concept drives financial decisions as much as income does. People who see themselves as savers make different automatic choices than people who see themselves as trying to save. The first $20,000 is the evidence that turns the aspiration into the identity. There is also a mechanical reason the second $20,000 comes faster. The returns on your first $20,000 are now contributing to the accumulation of the second. At a 7% annual return, $20,000 generates approximately $1,400 in year one, money that is working toward your next milestone without any additional contribution from you. By the time you have $30,000 saved, the annual return contribution alone is approaching $2,100. By $40,000, it is nearly $2,800 per year in passive accumulation. The first $20,000 is hard. Everything after it benefits from the engine you built to get there. If you've made it this far, like and subscribe to Monkey Money. It genuinely helps us keep making content like this, and we appreciate every single one of you. Now let us talk about the mindset shift that most personal finance content misses entirely. One of the most significant and least discussed changes that happens around the $20,000 milestone is a shift in how you see yourself in relation to money. Before this point, most people see themselves as earners, People whose financial life is defined by their paycheck. At $20,000 for many people, something flips. You stop being just someone who earns money and start being someone who has money working for them. It is a subtle distinction, but it reorganizes how you think about financial decisions. When you have capital that is growing, the question stops being, can I afford this? And starts being, is this the best use of this capital? That reframe is enormously valuable. It is the cognitive foundation of every genuinely wealthy person. Not that they have more income, but that they think about money as a resource to be deployed rather than a paycheck to be spent. The $20,000 milestone is often the first time most people experience this shift personally, not just intellectually. And once you have experienced it once, it becomes the baseline for how you approach every financial decision that follows. You start evaluating purchases differently. You start thinking about what money does when it is working rather than what it buys when it is spent. The investor identity, once adopted through actual evidence, is very hard to give up. So, if you are not at $20,000 yet, what does the path actually look like? The honest answer is that there is no shortcut that does not involve the same core mechanics, spending less than you earn, consistently, over time. But the sequence matters, and most people get it wrong. The first priority is eliminating high-interest debt, anything above 7% to 8% interest. You cannot effectively build a $20,000 cushion while simultaneously carrying $8,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. The interest on the debt is growing faster than any savings account can offset, and every dollar you put into savings while carrying that debt is earning a negative real return. Once high-interest debt is cleared, the next priority is building the $20,000 target itself. This is not an investing phase. This is a saving phase. The money belongs in a high-yield savings account earning 4% to 5% in 2026, not in the stock market where a 20% drawdown could cut your buffer in half right before you need it. The target monthly savings rate depends on your income, but a useful benchmark is 20% of take-home pay. On a take-home income of $4,000 per month, that is $800 per month. At that rate, $20,000 is achievable in roughly 25 months, a little over 2 years. For households earning less, the path is longer, but the destination matters just as much. Even at $400 per month saved, $20,000 is 50 months away, just over 4 years. That timeline feels long until you consider that you will spend every one of those months inside survival mode if you do not start. The most reliable way to reach $20,000 is to make the savings automatic and invisible. Set up a direct transfer to your high-yield savings account on payday, before the money touches your checking account. Once it is automated, you adapt to living on what remains, and the savings accumulates without requiring a daily decision to prioritize it. This is paying yourself first, and it is the single behavioral change with the highest impact on savings outcomes. It removes the friction, removes the temptation, and removes the month-end calculation of whether there is anything left to save. There is always something left when you take it first. A lot of people treat savings as a willpower problem. It is not. It is a systems problem. The people who reach $20,000 fastest are not the ones with the most discipline. They are the ones who designed their finances so that discipline is barely required. The automation principle is worth emphasizing because the hardest part of reaching $20,000 is not the math. It is the consistent execution over 25 to 50 months while life keeps happening around you. A monkey who hides a banana every single day without fail will always out-accumulate the one who hides a banana only when he remembers to, no matter how motivated that second monkey feels in the moments he actually does it. The $20,000 milestone will not make you rich. It will not solve every financial problem you have or eliminate every source of financial stress, but it will do something more foundational than any of those things. It will change the conditions under which you make every financial decision that follows. You will make decisions from a position of options rather than desperation. You will see compound interest working at a scale that actually feels real, and you will have proven to yourself, not intellectually, but with actual evidence, that you are someone who builds wealth rather than someone who is trying to. That identity is worth more than the $20,000 itself, because the person who builds $20,000 from zero does not stop there. They go to 40,000, then 60,000, then the number that changes the rest of their life. Drop a comment and tell me, where are you right now on the path to your first $20,000? See you in the next video.